I'm not going to no game. I'm going to RailCats game. Leave me alone.
That's right. That's what Ryan would do.
He gets one high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The Railcats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to 219 Cats. He's Chuck Plerik. I'm Kyle Savedich. We have baseball, Chuck. We have baseball to actually talk about.
Yes.
Not the best baseball to talk about, but it is always better to start a podcast when you end on a win than it is on a loss.
Hey, happy first win of the season.
Happy first win to everyone and all those who support the Railcats and the players.
Yep.
We will get into the, but we got to do the cold take a little bit. We got to get it warmed up, right?
I want to say this. I do not like to go and read stuff, right?
Okay.
Don't necessarily like to watch podcasts. I don't know. It's just like I don't. And yet I've been reading your
every
game.
Oh no.
And it's been interesting. I don't like that I can't respond back.
You can.
Well, I could, but it's you're giving your take. And normally if I hear nonsense, I will interrupt you.
Yes, I understand that.
And I can't do that when you've written it all out. But hey, that's some good stuff that you're doing. I'm being dead serious, being honest with you. That's some good stuff. Some things I disagree with, but good stuff.
And that's it's from my perspective of what I see. And this gives you a platform to argue back with it. And I agree that some things that I say aren't always the best, as we all know. But it's just things that and the issue is a lot of times that I do write the 9-inning observations, it's right after the game. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I started doing it, I would have been more like numb to the fandom of it. But now I'm so invested that some of my emotions get into it. So like my takes may be more emotional than actually journalistic.
Yeah.
And I've caught myself, and I'm going to work towards not being so having a fandom to it, because the other issues that I look back at the statistics, and a lot of the statistics come from Instagram, and a lot of players do read those articles because it does pop up on their stories or whatever the case may be. So I have to be mindful that I can't dig into them personally, because we are, it's not like I hide. I mean, I'm sitting on the first base side.
Right.
I mean, there might be fencing that might be in between that, but we can get into that in a minute.
We'll get it.
We'll get into that in a minute. But I'm just saying, what I don't want people to think is when I write these articles that I'm trying to attack. If anyone feels that way, I'm not trying to attack anyone personally. I'm just looking at it from the playing standpoint and what I see. So that's a lot of what I go with, and sometimes I gotta be better about just like maybe taking the foot off of the actual feedback and more of like what actually happened, if that makes sense. This is more for us to banter around and be idiots, because that's what the podcast is about.
Right.
Well, I appreciate, Chuck, that you're actually reading it. Maybe. So I appreciate that. Milo just commented on one. He said he really likes it. He's reading it. So and again, it's going to be on the actual games that I'm able to watch. So like I'll be able to watch tomorrow's game, but then Tuesdays and Wednesday games, the day game, and I'll be at work. So it's like I can't really comment on that. By the time that it uploads to AA Baseball and I watch the entire thing, it's gonna be 3:00 in the morning. It takes me an hour to write the thing, and next thing I know, I'll be at work. So yeah, there's that.
So much I want to get into. One, I went to the Chicago Dogs.
Okay, well, we'll get into the
dog. Two, I really want to talk a lot about my experience going to Chicago, and all of that. And I'm trying to think of like there was a handful of things that I wanted to discuss. Um, and the 3 games.
Yeah.
The
So what we'll do to appease the fans, right? This is a RailCats podcast, right? So we will talk about the games first,
Yep.
and then we'll talk about experience. So if they want to read or hear what we have to say, they can hear the RailCat stuff and they can tune out afterwards, and that's perfectly fine. So since there's only 3 games on the slate, it's a little bit easier to dive a little bit deeper into it. So let's go ahead and go with the opening day game in Lake Country, where the RailCats lose 12-4.
Right.
So here, let me pull up. So the thing is that it was nothing going into the first. At the end of the first, nothing. Lake Country gets 1 at the bottom of the second, and then they score 7 in the third. RailCats don't get a hit or a person on base until the 5th. Right. That was a Cooper Weiss walk. And then they finally score the runs in the 6th. Then the 7th, RailCats score 1. Dockhounds scored 4. And that's all how it all plays itself out. We did see Joe Swazi did get injured, taken out of that game. That was the second inning, I believe, around the second, third inning. Then you had a shift where Colin Summerhill went from catcher to right field, and then Cooper Edwards came in, and then Jake Gunther came and played first base. Right. So this is the stat line for Daniel Olivero, who was the starting pitcher. He pitched 2 1/3, gave up 9 hits, 8 runs, all earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 4 home runs given up. Matt Reitz. He came in, pitched 3 2/3 innings, gave up 3 hits and 1 walk. Jake Hoover came in, he gave up 3 hits on 4 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout, and 2 home runs. And then Cade Herman came in and he gave up 1 hit and he walked 1 in 1.1 innings or 1 1/3 innings. Not a lot of productivity on the offensive side, other than Jake Gunther being 2 for 4 with a solo. It was a solo home run.
Yep.
And so that was $1 for the youth program. We're up to $3 now. Still don't know which program yet. No one's commented on anything. I have someone in mind, but
let's not jump up to the second and third game. We're still on the first.
I know we're still on the first.
Spoiled it. No.
It's Chuck. It's okay. Jake Gunther went 2 for 4 in that game. Corey Hall had a hit. Kevin Watson had a hit. Elvis Peralta had a hit. Cooper Weiss had a hit. Not really much going on the offensive side. This first game was like, oh Lord, we are going back to last year. That's what the first game felt like.
No, so for me, this first game felt like that 30-win season.
I guess it
felt like to me was the 30-win season, and here's why. First of all, we pitch Olivero, who is our number 5 starter. Okay, so we didn't start with our number 1, which is Peyton. The reason being is because Peyton will be the number 1 starter. It'll be his turn when they're at home. So they want to have the number 1 starter at home, which would be Peyton. Okay. So we started with our number 5 against their number 1. And you could tell it was their number 1. That guy held it. And the only reason why we scored anything was because he was gone. But hey, these teams, their number 1 pitchers have some good stuff. And, even their number 2 or number 3 pitchers have some good stuff. We have to have a solid pitching staff is what, when you're facing Lake Country, you have to have a dominant pitching staff, because anything that gets hit up in the air, in most cases, it's going to be a home run.
Yes.
And that's what we saw. 6 home runs that game from the other team.
Yeah, all of their runs came off a home run. 6 home runs, and all of them came.
Yeah, get a guy on base, hit a home run. Get a guy on base, get 2 guys on base, hit a home run. Get a guy on base, that was their answer to all of that. And they even had some guys that were pretty fast. We had Summerhill behind the plate, and let me tell you, he did not have a single good throw down to second base.
That was more in game 2 than game 1.
Okay.
That
Well, it
was
was at the beginning of game 1 is what I saw at first, and then yes, game 2. So, they were able to steal on us, move the runners around, but it didn't matter anyways because they were on base. They'd hit a home run.
Yeah, you had stolen base from Reyes, Johnson, Carreras, and then Zuber. Those are all speedy guys. The Roberts guy, I kind of enjoy watching him play.
Yeah,
he was very
one hitter. I mean, their number 9 hitter.
Yeah, he's the number 9 hitter. Yeah, and he actually came in for Zuber because I think he got hurt. So
yeah, that he had a series, man.
Yeah,
he had a series, and good for him. I think that was his first professional at bat.
I believe so too. Yeah.
So I mean, that's to me, this is one of those things where you can't when you get these new guys in, you can't necessarily judge from the outside what you're getting, right? You just hope you get a guy that's going to go have a season have a season like I had a series.
Yeah, this is if this was later in the season, I would say that like Lake Country is a measuring stick team, but with it being so early in the season, it's kind of hard to say that. Lake Country did win the East last year. They are still a good team. And in that first game, it just showed they were a lot better team than we were.
Yeah.
Olivero, there was a handful of ones that he, with his sinker, they were just reading it and they were just getting it up in the air just enough. And that ball just kind of, there was not a lot of like, oh, wow, that was a moonshot. I think Gunther's home run was a lot further than other Dockhounds home runs. And that's just the part that sucks when you see Lake Country doing that. And you're like, you look at our lineup and you're like, there's got to be people that can get the ball just in the air to go. And nothing was just falling for them. And it just, I don't think the team was necessarily ready for how Lake Country was going to play.
Well, I think that, so here's the thing. Here's what I think was the difference. Okay. And hear me out on this. I think the difference in that 3-game series, we only talked about game 1. In the 3-game series was Cooper Edwards.
Yeah, well,
I think that was the difference.
Well, I mean, we'll obviously talk about Cooper in the all at the end of everything.
Go to number 2.
But real quick, I do want to talk about Jake Hoover. We did see him come in.
Yep.
I think if it was in a different circumstance, I think he would have pitched a lot better.
Well, I agree. Let's hold off on that because I want to talk about the effect I think Cooper Edwards has on a guy like Jake Hoover.
Well, no, I understand, but Cooper Edwards was behind the plate when Jake Hoover came into play. Right. I'm just saying, I think that the momentum for Lake Country was just building and going, and that was a tough spot to put Jake in the first place. And I understand it. The game is already out of hand at that point. It's already 8-0 or 9-0. Yeah, it was 8-0. Yeah, it was 8-0 at that point. And
see what he can do.
Yeah, I think the fastball's there. It's just that his breaking stuff kind of hung a little bit, and that's just something that you got to work with. And I think he's more than capable of doing it. So I just don't want people to think that, oh, I look at his stat line and he only went 2/3 innings. He gave up 4 runs and his ERA is 54. Like, okay, this guy hasn't actually pitched in X amount of years. He's comes out and he had good stuff. It just, Lake Country just was on one.
Well,
on Friday.
Like I said, I'll comment on that when we get.
Okay. All right. So game 2, the RailCats lose 11-2. We saw Elvis Peralta go 2 for 3. We saw Joe Swazi go 2 for 3. We got a home run for Nick Podcool, who opened up the scoring in the first. Absolute moonshot to left field, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. We're getting it back. Like, okay, we got Peyton on the hill. We're gonna get it back.
Now hold on. So what was the final score?
11-2.
11-2.
Yes.
And right off the bat, we got 2.
Yeah.
means the other team got 11, and right off the bat, we got our 2 out of the way.
I
And we're like, we're on vacation the rest of the game.
I mean the team went what hit 7 to 34. They left 11 people on base.
11 on base.
Podcool obviously is the only one with the home run. Blah blah blah. Peyton Long went 5 innings. He gave up 10 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 8 strikeouts, 1 home run given up. Denson Hall came in. He pitched 2 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 2 strikeouts. And then Yohan Valdez came in, gave up 3 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and a home run. This was if I were to go back, we talked about the article, right? If I were to go back and rewrite the article, I would have looked at this game differently. I think that I was so emotionally disappointed with the game that when I wrote it, I wasn't looking at I didn't really the offense. How many people we left on base? 11. Like,
Right.
it's just one of those like you look at it and you're like, you had your opportunities, but we just can't get people across. We can't get people moving. And at this point, we only had like 2 extra base hits going through 2 games.
So game 1 made me think of 2024 season. Game 2 made me think of the 2025
Yes.
season. Right? And that was the progression. 2024, it could have been 20-2, 20-5, 20-4. And you were like, yep, this is the way it's going to be all season. And game 2, we were in that. It was what, 5? If you take out uh the last 3 innings, I believe the score was like 5-2.
Yeah, I mean, I think I even wrote it. If you were to take out, even if you were to take out that 8th inning,
Yeah, just take out what Valdez
we would have
did.
been it would have the score would have been 5-2. But then you just take out like the home runs and some other things that happened with errors and what the case, like you're looking at the RailCats actually winning that game.
Yeah, well, you can't take out all this. I
You
mean,
can't, but I mean,
if
yes,
the
you can.
Railcats scored 2 and you took out everything that the other
Well,
team
yeah,
did, the Railcats win, right?
I'm just,
So,
I'm just saying.
but what I'm saying is that this was a reminder of last season where it was, wow, okay, if we could just change a few things, we're winning these games. And uh, the thing with Valdez is, and I saw this when I watched him pitch an inning or 2 innings in spring training. Um, he doesn't have the command, and I think he's going to take some time to have that control. And the question is, do you have the ability to give him that time or not? Because he's an emotional pitcher, and you mentioned that, right? But you know, sometimes that you have to kind of put that emotion aside because it's distracting
Mhm.
from you trying to maintain your mechanics, get your mechanics down. And so that's going to be a good Jeff question. Is are you necessarily going to have the time to give to Valdez for him to be able to settle himself down and get back into control? When he's in control,
Oh yeah,
he's a lights out guy. But it's going to take a lot to get him back there.
yeah. I mean, that was just, he goes and he gets Nelson, he strikes him out, and then Basabi has the error, but then he gets out number 2, and then he just kind of seems to like lose the control, and like you could just see the emotion. Like it was like that error just kind of stuck with him. Like I should have a 1, 2, 3 inning right now, but
And if you go back to 2024, remember he wasn't with us last year.
yeah,
You go back to 2024, that's how all the games went. A pitcher could go out there and blow the doors off, but he gives up a simple ground ball to the shortstop, and it turns into 4 runs.
yeah.
And you lose the game. So maybe he's having some flashbacks of that. Maybe, who knows? But like I said, it's going to take some time for him to settle down, for him to get his control, his composure. Do you have that time to invest in that? Because with that time comes giving up runs.
Yeah, game the thing is they played game 2 a lot better, but the score is one of those that like it doesn't show it
Right.
because you had the one bad inning, and that's what I meant when I go back to kind of rewrite the articles. I was like, that one bad inning just stuck in my crawl, and it was just like and
Flash.
flashback. And I mean, even Peyton had some really good pitches, and
Yeah.
they were just like finding the spots, and like they were the one that
This is
sticks, the one that
this.
the
Go ahead.
one play that sticks with me is one. I think it was like in the first where I forget who. I think it was maybe Johnson, where he kind of hit the ball and Elvis ran for it and he kind of made a weird like grab at it and the ball went flying through and it was just like it looked like the reads were off from the left side a little bit. So it just kind of like it was just like little spots that were getting hit and it just kind of accumulated into things and it just looked like the defense wasn't fully there in the first place. So it just kind of like things I was used to seeing last year aren't happening this year. So it's like, are we regressing or are we just having a hard time playing the ball off the turf because we've been practicing on natural grass and not artificial?
Yeah. Well, so my take on game two was definitely catcher. And here's why. We know Peyton is a hell of a pitcher,
Yes.
but it is the catcher's job to be able to assess what's going on in the game and to be able to control it with the pitch calls, with the locations and all of that stuff. And we know Peyton is a guy who can locate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so if you look and you see, okay, I'm calling for the curveball or the slider, whatever it is, right? The changeup, and they're crushing it. And then the next guy comes up and I go through the same progression and he crushes it. And the next guy comes up and I go through the same progression. You can't do that because these guys are smart
Yep.
enough to be able to say, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'll take the two strikes because I know the third one's going to be the slider that I'm looking for,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they just kept doing it on Peyton. To me, that is not a Peyton issue. That's a catcher issue.
I agree.
And that catcher needs to grow from that because you can make a lot of pitchers look bad by getting in the same routine and not changing things up and not adapting to what the other team is doing. Your job as a catcher is to come in with a game plan, but be able to adapt. You need to be able to know what your pitcher can do and adapt your game plan based off of what the other team's doing.
I we'll get into game 3, and as soon as game 3 happened, I immediately texted you, and I was like, all my doubts for Cooper Edwards is out the window. Like I don't have any more doubts with the guy. I think he should be the everyday starter. I don't know, maybe if when Justin O'Connor comes back from injury, like that sort of situation. But the thing is what I don't understand is Colin Summerhill has not caught in like 4 years. So why are you putting a catcher that has not caught in 4 years behind the plate when you already have a guy who was it 2 years ago when Cooper Edwards and Peyton Long got together, they had like a sub 1.2 ERA,
Right.
and
Right.
you're telling me that you're not going to put him in that position because the offensive side for Cooper isn't there? I'm sorry. At this point, I know the production Cooper gave on today's game. But if that's once a week or every other week or whatever the case may be, the amount that he's able to do behind the plate and what he's able to do with the pitchers will outweigh what he's doing at the plate batting. I told you this yesterday. I said if a guy steals on a catcher, they have to make that up by getting on base.
Yep.
And you saw Johnson steal 3 bases on Summerhill in game 2, and the throws weren't relatively close at all.
Right.
And then Johnson takes off on Edwards today, and the guy was out by a mile. And I mean, it was thrown on a rope.
Right.
And that
That,
immediately
that's
changes the matter.
yeah. No, that's the thing that going back a couple years ago with the pitch clock, right? And the um only being able to throw back, to check the guy a couple of times, and then you have to get him out or it's a free base, right? Uh, you know, these guys, they take the lead and they are already of the mindset, I'm stealing second
Hmm.
base. And when you're going up against a guy like Summerhill, who I did not see a single good throw to second base from him. Now, I could understand if you're slow getting up, uh, or maybe the speed's not there, right?
Hmm.
But you have to have the accuracy. And his thing wasn't the getting up and it wasn't the speed. His was just the accuracy. When you're throwing 4 feet to the shortstop side of the base, you I don't care if it's me running, it's a free base because you can't be that far off. The thing that we have, the luxury we have with Coop is that 99%, let's be realistic, 95% of the time, he's within a foot
Hmm.
or two of the tag, not of the bag, but of the tag,
Mo-
right?
Most people that steal on Cooper, it's because the pitcher's so slow to deliver.
Yes.
That
Yes.
I would say 95% of the steals that he doesn't throw people out is that one, they don't check the runner back, and two, they're slow to delivery.
Yeah.
It's very rare. I mean, Andrew said it on the broadcast. Last year was 8% above the league average
Yeah.
for throwouts. So like, again, that is a management issue. That is one thing that I've seen from. I just not saying that it coincides, but the first two games you gave up more than 11 runs, and the third game you give up 1 run. I'm not saying that's all because of the catcher. I'm
Right.
just saying Johnson didn't attempt to steal another bag. They didn't steal any bases in this in the third game. And it's just one of those situations where
Yeah. Now, if the guys don't get on base, of course they're not going to steal any bags. But in the case of this, all it takes is one guy to steal a bag for them to realize we can steal all day, or one guy to get pegged for them to say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable stealing another bag. That's
which
all.
which will lead us into game 3, Chuck. The
Yes.
game that we have been waiting for.
Yes. So
Railcats.
if the first game shows you 2024 and the second game makes you relive 2025, the third game has to show you what it's going to look like in
At
2026.
2026. Yes, yes. So the game starts off with Howell getting on base, and he gets a hit. Me and you kind of talked about, we're like, we should really see Peralta there at the leadoff spot. And then Corey Howell's like, "Nah, I got you guys. Don't worry. Hold my beer." He gets on base. He steals second. Then he steals third. And then Peralta drives him in with the ground out. But then Peralta comes around at his, I think this was in the fourth. He's like, you know what, Howell, you're going to steal. I'm going to steal first, second, or second and third kind of situation. But that's the momentum portion of, like, home runs. Don't get me wrong. They're wonderful. 2-run home run. It kind of gets the blood flowing. But seeing a guy go from first to second to third, just stealing the bag, and
Right.
and the pure emotion and the, I mean, I know the field was a little slick, but he was running so hard he slid like way past third base, and luckily it wasn't a throw, a throw that was on target, but it was just like he had it in his eyes that he was gonna take third, and that's what he did, and
And
it just
it,
it kept going.
so when we watched I watched Fargo's first game.
Mm-hmm.
They have Jarius that we had last
Yeah.
year, Jarius Richards, and he gets on base and he steals second base, but he overslides and they tag him and he's out on the overslide, but he was safe by a mile at second base, right? Uh, and does his little hop The next time, steals first, steals second, or sorry, steals second, steals third. And I'm sitting there thinking, I miss that baseball.
Yeah.
I miss having that a walk turns into a triple type of bonus that you get with the Jarius Richards. So I hope that we get that with Corey Howell.
I agree.
I know we've kind of got that, uh, with an Elvis Peralta. We kind of got that, right? Because Elvis, I mean, he's fast, but I think he plays more with his head of should I, whereas Richards was just, I'm going.
Yeah.
And you saw it last year. Richards did great at the beginning, but then they caught on and started
Yeah.
nailing it, right? Whereas Elvis was the same throughout the whole season because he used his head a lot more than the I'm going, and that kind of a thing. So, uh, hey, if we can get Elvis the same way he was last year, if we can get Corey Howell to be as good as an Elvis or a little bit better with his base running, I, hey, that's fantastic.
So real quick, so it was the Railcat score off. I have the wrong book. Hold on, give me a second. Oh, there we go. Howell scores on the ground out from Peralta in the first, and then in the fourth. So Peralta steals second, third. Podcool walks, but then he also steals a base to get himself in scoring position. And then it was Weiss getting the single, scoring both of them. This is the one thing I've seen from Podcool. He is pretty intelligent on the base path. In that situation, for him to go maybe it's more of Jeff's aggression on the base path. Then maybe I'm giving Podcool a little bit more credit than needs to be, or maybe I should give the credit to Jeff. Either way, the Railcats ended up having 9 stolen bases in this game.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those, like, knowing that having a 1-run lead is not going to cut it. So the more that I can get people going, the more it puts pressure on the team. And I think that's what happened. So then in the fourth and then in the seventh, you get the solo shot from Edwards. Yes, you get the solo shot in Edwards, and then Peralta drives in Howell on a single. And then in the eighth, you get, let's see, Gunther gets on. He stole a base. Basabi stole a base. And then Cooper again, he hits a single, and he drives in a run. I think someone scored on a wild pitch in that situation. I believe it might have been Basabe scored on a wild pitch. So it was like a one.
Yeah,
so, and then, yeah, because Gunther drove in Swazi. Sorry, my book's all kind of thrown off. But so, like, I'm just saying, like, you get stolen bases. You're getting stolen bases from people you don't expect to steal bases. Like Gunther stealing a bag. You weren't expecting that. And you saw it with how, and I know there was a time in the game when Howell was stealing all these bases, and you had the 2 disengagements, and then he got all the way to the third, and then the pitcher disengaged, and there was a bit of a, like, hey, he already disengaged. I'm like, yeah, he already had 2 disengagement. I forgot that if you advance a bag, then the disengagement resets. So, like, I'm sitting there going, what the heck's going on in all that situation? But, like, I'm just saying that you put the pressure on the team, and then the Dockhounds scored 1 in the 6th. But I mean, that is what it is to say. I'm not really that concerned with it. But I mean, this was more. I mean, J.C. Flowers, I was really impressed with his 2-seam fastball. He used it in situations to get batters looking. He did it a lot to the right-handed pitchers because he would throw them a fastball, a cutter, fastball, cutter, and then he would throw that 2-seamer on the outside edge, and it would just catch the corner. Because it comes back to the batter. It's like, it's just one of those situations. He did a really good job, and then you obviously had Cooper back there, but the control was there. He had 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 3 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. The runs that he gave up, he was out of gas. He was already going to that inning. I think he was already at 85 pitches going into the sixth. So it was just like he was running out of gas in that situation. But then Dawson Lane comes in, bases loaded situation, 2 outs.
Yep.
And who's up to bat for the Dockhounds?
Peters,
who did what in game 2?
hit a grand slam.
And I'm sitting there going, and Dawson battled with him. I mean, it was a good battle. And then that ball hit the bat, and I went, oh no. And then I just watched Gunther stop, turn around, and catch the ball, and I said, okay, we're good. We're fine. But Dawson Lane came in, pitched 2 1/3 innings. He struck out 4, gave up the 1 hit. And then Jacob Coates came in, and he just like, all right, lock and key. We're done here. I'm going to throw 97 on you guys. You ain't doing anything.
Yep.
The one thing that, I mean, I think once we get the rotation figured out and all settled in, and we'll move some pieces around here and there. The one thing I guess I have to say is with the Peyton Long situation, you could have still had him pitch opening day and had him pitch RailCats opening day. You have a gap on Thursday. If you did, you could have switched the rotation. Would it have mattered? I don't know in that situation, but if you want to start your season out with the number 1 guy, start the season out with the number 1 guy. Like give him that opportunity to go out there and start the season with the win. Because I mean, if he started out the win, we're looking at a 2-1 record and completely something different. Or we could look at him still being in a 1-2 situation and still everything would have happened. This game, I mean, you got production from everyone. The only one you haven't got production from, Basabe. He hasn't gotten a hit, but he's only struck out once, and he leads the team in walks. He got a run. I'm not that concerned. I mean, you look back through Basabe's hits. I'm not concerned. Yes, I'm concerned he's not getting hits, but the thing is if I'm seeing a guy make contact and he's getting the ball in play and not striking out, he's seeing the ball. The things just aren't going his way. Right. It's going to take a minute, and then all of a sudden something's going to click and he's going to go. I'm not, Corey Howell went 2 for 4. Kevin Watson went 0 for 2, but he had 2 walks. Elvis Peralta went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Nick Podkol went 1 for 4. Swazi went 0 for 4, but he did have a walk. Cooper Weiss went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Jake Gunther went 1 for 4 with 1 RBI. Basabe went 0 for 3, and then Cooper Edwards went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and the solo home run that he had. Much better game, but here's my other issues real quick, Chuck. And then we got stolen bases from Howell. He stole 3. Peralta stole 2. Podkol, Gunther, Basabe, and Edwards all had 1 stolen base. My issue is we are at game 3, and we have had 1, 2, 3, 4 extra base hits. And 3 of them being home runs.
Right.
The discipline in game 2 or game 3 was a lot better than it was in game 1 and 2. When you sat back and actually watched Lake Country, they found their spots and they took the ball where it needed to go, and they put it in gaps. They were kind of playing like, here we go, you get a cookie, you get a cookie, you get a cookie, and then Peter Zimmerman comes out because, all right, see you guys, I'm going to take this one out of the ballpark. That's, if we're going to play singles, we're going to have to steal bases. And that's what happened in this game. If this was last year, I don't think we have 9 stolen bases in this game.
I do.
I think you get 5.
Well,
3 from Howell and 2 from Peralta. I just don't think the stolen bases really came in the 8th inning, where you had Gunther stealing, Edwards stealing, those ones that tacked on. That was just the aggression portion. At that point, you were already 8-1. But it's not here, I'm going to rub it in your face that we're 8-1. It's, we know at any moment you can go off for 8 runs in a game.
You did. Yep.
You already did it once. So I don't think any Dockhounds players or fans took it that way.
I don't think. I mean, they did the same thing to us, right? I mean, they blew us out of the water for 2 games. So
Yeah, but that was based on
you
home runs and actually
get
hitting the
the
ball. Like,
right. You get the opportunity to play your game. You play your game. That's our
so
game. You take into account that those. First of all, the wind's not going to be blown out at our stadium the way that it was blown out there in most cases, right?
no,
And and a lot of those that they hit are long fly balls in Gary. They're not home runs, and so uh, we could have guys that are going to sit there and hit long fly balls in Gary. That's not the type of game that we play.
no,
So I mean, it's going to be those singles in Gary might turn into doubles because of the way that the field is. And you're going to wind up getting those extra bases. You're going to wind up stealing those bases. But here's the thing. You mentioned I didn't really see Gunther stealing a base. I bet you the other team probably has some guys they were like, I didn't see them stealing a base, but they did. Why? Because of who they were stealing off of.
yeah,
You'll wind up having guys that wouldn't normally steal bases when you've got a catcher that isn't even in the ballpark when he's throwing to second base. You'll have that. You'll have a Cooper Edwards stealing second base. You'll have a Gunther stealing second base. They're not necessarily the fastest guys, but if you've got a catcher that is not commanding the game the way a Cooper Edwards does, you're going to wind up seeing that. The key is for Jeff to see something like that, to be able to maximize it, maximize the effect, for the first base coach to be able to see, hey, he goes over to the guy at first base, hey, he's not looking at you, take that extra step, stuff like that, to be able to maximize the benefits that you have based off of the mistakes that the other team's making. You got to do that. That's
yeah,
how that's the way we win baseball. That's not the way other teams necessarily win baseball. That's how we win baseball in Gary.
yeah. I mean, the thing that gets me with Gunter and Basabe, both of their stolen bases was to third. It wasn't to second; it was to third. So it's just one of those that, like,
If you can steal, you can steal. If the
no, it just
not,
if you're stealing third, that tells me one of two things: the pitcher is not paying attention to the runner on second, and the catcher's not calling for pitches to be in an area where they can throw the runner out.
right.
That just comes down to either one, they just don't care at that point because the score is 8-1.
And the Dockhounds, the pitcher, they did not have their best pitchers out there today. There was a
No,
lot of fastballs, a lot that were thrown way off to the side and high where the catcher had no chance of getting them. Stuff like that. Those are the kind of ones you can steal off of. You know.
yeah. So looking at the team stats, the team is batting at 216. They have 3 home runs.
What'd you think of that Swazi starts to run to second base? It
Oh,
looks like a hit and run, right?
yeah.
Gets second base, watches the guy catch the ball, runs back to first, overthrow at first, gets back,
Then goes back to,
back
yes.
second. Oh my goodness, that's the same as going from first to home.
Yes. I do have to, I did write this, but I do have to comment on the hit and run situations. If it is an actual hit and run situation, the runners have to trust the batter to make contact, and they need to find the ball. Because Peralta got thrown on that hit and run situation because he was head down. And again, I don't know if it was an actual hit and run or if it was, okay, you're stealing the bag, but the pitch was just too good and I had to take it. Like, if there's a green light all the time for a Peralta, then you can't always take pitches. So, but it's also one of those that you have to, if he's taking off and you're in a hitter's count, you probably just let it go. Unless there's an actual hit and run situation. But if it's a hit and run situation, the runners just have to find the ball. Like, take a peek back and say, okay, he's in the air. Where is it going?
I don't know that the hit and run is necessarily a good thing to be doing right now. Because you are still trying to get all these guys to gel together. I think the hit and run is one of those more complex plays where you have to know your hitter a little bit better, know what your hitter can do a little bit better, right? Know that, hey, if I tell a Corey Howell, hey, you're going to have to make contact that even if that ball is, 2-3 inches off the plate, he's going to be able to make that contact, right? So I don't know that the hit and run is necessarily something I would do until I got a better feel for my hitters. But, a hit and run, when are you doing that? I don't know that when you're down a bunch that you're doing a hit and run. I think it was just one of those things where Peralta's trying to steal and somebody's swinging the bat, and
Yeah, there's just gotta be, you gotta let players play, but there also gotta be guidelines. Like, in a certain situation, if Peralta's taking off and if there's no steal sign on, there's no hit and run sign on, and you don't have 2 strikes on you, and the ball better is not anywhere down the middle of the plate, you're not swinging. Like,
Right.
give him the opportunity to steal that bag and then go from there.
Well,
Unless
we had this problem last year because you had 2 aces, right? You had Darius Richards and you had Peralta, and so Richards would get on base, and then first pitch, Peralta's hitting the ball. And it's like, whoa, wait a second, dude! You didn't even give him a chance to get to second base, but Peralta was the guy that was going to make contact no matter what, And I think they ironed that out a little bit later, where it was like, okay, Richards is going to go to second. All right, he's going to go to third. All right, now I can make that swing, get that contact, and knock him in.
Going back to that situation, I'm actually okay with it because he's already taking off, going to second, and you get that hit. And so essentially what you're looking at is a play at home. So Peralta's basically, so if Rich is stealing second, Peralta gets it in the gap, and then Richards is coming home. Essentially, Peralta's getting a double out of it.
Hopefully.
I mean, that hopefully, but I'm just saying, more than likely you're going to score a run than versus waiting 2 pitches or 3 pitches or 4 pitches for him to get to third. You're looking at him going from first to third or first to home in that situation. That's a little bit different. I'm okay with that portion of it. But if you don't have,
you saw last year, I believe, my memory serves me right, Peralta hit the ball a lot, but it was necessarily to shortstop or to second base. And so it was a lot of double play. Whereas if you would have just waited a pitch, you would have taken the double play off the table.
No, I get that.
Those are the ones where, if you go back to 2024, so many times we hit into double plays. We would get a guy on base, and then it was next pitch double play. And it was like, okay, we really need to find a way to get out of the double play situations. So maybe you take that pitch and move that runner over so that you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Last year, we did a pretty good job at getting out of the double play situation, but you still saw it a lot with that top of the order. And a lot of times it was the bottom of the order that had to come through and score those runs because the top of the order was kind of getting you in trouble. So you got a guy like Corey Howell, you got a guy like an Elvis Peralta. Let him steal that second base before you're swinging. Get out of that double play situation. Sometimes that what would have been a double play is a hit that knocks the guy over to third base.
Yeah. So, real quick, the RailCats, the past 2 seasons, waited until Game 6 to win 1 game. We did it in 3 games this year, so that's a positive. We're positive here. The other positive is I know they're playing right now, but I don't think it's necessarily going to matter.
Cleburne.
Yeah. So right now they're 0-3.
Yes.
We are going to end week 1 not in last.
Right.
So that's a positive. We have 1 win, and there's 2 teams that are 0-3 so far.
Yep.
And Lincoln's the other one. The issue is, Chuck, we play Milwaukee.
Yes, and Milwaukee is looking good.
And they are 3-0.
Yes, they are looking good.
So let me pull up all their stuff at the moment.
Now let me say this though. We got 1 out of our first 3, right? Which means we are on track to win 33 games this year.
33 games and 100 home runs.
Right.
There we go. So looking at Milwaukee, they played Winnipeg. First game they won 6-2. Second game they won 3-2, and today they won 12-2.
So Winnipeg also.
Yeah,
0-3.
yeah, 0-3. I guess I didn't scroll down that far.
I believe there's three teams that were 0-3 right now.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at right now. The Milwaukee's just batting under 300. They have 5 home runs, 20 RBIs. They have an OPS of 930, ERA of 2, WHIP of 96. They struck out 23, and they have strikeout per 9 of 7.67. I think the RailCats are actually at a higher rate than that. So to me, that means they're going to be able to make contact. But I wonder if I didn't watch Milwaukee play, so I'm not sure like if it's their defense that's really good right now, or their pitching staff is just putting the ball in certain positions that it's hard for people to make contact. Just saying, Milwaukee's going to be a tough one. It's going to be another turf field, so I don't know how our defense seemed to get better. And luckily, they only have 1 night game and 2 day games, because night games just lights and Chuck, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I didn't discuss this earlier. I don't know what it is about Lake Country and their lights. It doesn't fail either once a game or once a series. A player loses the ball on the lights.
Here's the thing I was thinking about. Back in the day, you had lights that were stationary, and they took 30 minutes to turn on.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yep.
They had incandescent bulbs that they had to warm up first, and then all of a sudden they got a little bit brighter, and then finally they were nice and bright, and now we've got these lights that are LED lights that you can flip them on with a switch, and they're as bright as can be, and you can angle them and this and that. They've got little motors in the back. I wonder, conspiracy theory or not, if Lake Country is angling those lights to screw us up during the game.
Well, and
I would not be surprised.
And game 2, unfortunately, I didn't get to hear the RailCats broadcast because it wasn't available.
Yeah, what was up?
I don't know what was up with that either. And this is just me. I really do not like Lake Country's broadcast.
I agree with you.
Something about the play-by-play guy. This year he actually gave the RailCats credit. In years past, he was just like, I don't even know why they're playing this good. This team sucks and blah blah and this and that. I think it's the arrogance in his voice that I hear. But anyways, he's like, I don't know what it is. Well, one, the lights are lower in Lake Country. Their lights, however they have them set, are lower. I think one that needs to be regulation size. I don't understand how you can set lights lower. But anyways, he said Gary's the only team that has any issue with this, and I don't understand how.
Well, he said that other teams have issues, but Gary is the only one that has consistent issues.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
with it. So it's normal for other teams to miss the ball once, but I think they make adjustments.
You're right.
Maybe they catch on to it. We had, what was it, LG that missed like 2 in a row?
Yeah.
One year, and last year I believe it might have been, where it was like, okay, missed it. All right, we've learned. Next hit. Did it again, and it's like, come on, But hey, I'll tell you what, I am one to give those outfielders a lot more credit, because they're one thing I can't do is shag a ball in the outfield. My depth perception sucks, and being able to tell where that ball is going to be or whatever. Yeah, those guys deserve a lot more credit than they get.
Just real quick, this is the end of week 1. I hate that's called week 1.
Yeah.
But so far with the average, Peralta is sitting at a 417, Gunther's sitting at a 333, and Cooper Edwards is sitting at a 333. Those are the top 3 in average. On base percentage, we were looking at Peralta at a 500, Corey Howell at a 467, Cooper Edwards at a 429. Slugging, Cooper Edwards is at 833. You're gonna be shocked by his OPS. Gunther is sitting at a 583, and then Nick Podcool and Elvis Peralta are both tied at a 412 or 417. For OPS, Cooper Edwards is hitting a 1.26 OPS. That is, I know you're not a big numbers guy, Chuck.
No.
That is like Hall of Fame All-Star. Like if someone can get to that point, like that's where he's. I know we're 3 games in, but still, nonetheless. Jake Gunther's sitting at a 917. Peralta sitting at 917. Leaders for hits. Peralta has 5. Gunther has 4. Weiss and Howe are all tied at 3.
Now, I'm gonna say this. Of all the guys that I've met in the league, on the RailCats, whatever, I get happiest when I see Cooper Edwards have a good game.
I agree.
I don't know what it is, but I do know what it is. It's him.
Yeah.
But there's something about Coop, his work ethic, the fact that he just puts in the time and the effort, and it's maybe he's not gifted with the 6-foot body, the huge arms, right? Or the 200 pounds to be able to just kill the ball. He's not necessarily gifted with those, but he finds a way to scratch and claw everything that he can to get what he can. And I'll tell you what, that you go back to the 93 Phillies, that's what I loved about them. Didn't take an out off, even if they were winning. The running out everything, the going after it, going all out. Those were the kind of players that I loved, and Cooper is that kind of player. And I mean, man, that guy made it to affiliate ball. That would be one of the happiest days for me.
I was sitting there thinking about it. So one of 2 things. Cooper has the ability to become a really good manager.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking is, I know it's not, I would like to see it, but he could potentially get to minor leagues and not necessarily be playing, but being almost like a secondary or a catcher's coach situation. He'd be able to work with the prospects, and I think he would be, there's a role out there for him in that atmosphere, and he could really succeed in that situation. I think a lot of it is that, one, his height and his numbers aren't at what affiliate ball's looking for, but he would be a key piece to an organization to help get people. I mean, if you sat him in AA or AAA, and just from the command aspect of it and looking at the field, I think he would be more beneficial to an affiliate team in that role.
If Coop can limit your opponent's stealing bases and command a game and make your pitchers better, which are the 3 skills that he does very well. I mean, I would say well above average, if not an elite level of those 3 things. I don't think that you need to have somebody that's going out there and killing the ball. Hell, I would even say if you just had Cooper Edwards bunt every single time he's up to bat and just put the ball in play, I would see no problem with the guy being on AA, AAA as a catcher. Because
but
those pitchers,
Chuck, it's different. It's different in those ranks. I'm sorry, it's a lot different than what we're doing. We are in a league where the games. I'm not saying that they don't matter in affiliate ball, because they do play to win. They do play for championships and try to move up. I understand that, but those are developmental leagues.
I know.
And you're not going to sacrifice a catcher's position for a guy to bunt the ball.
I get that, but I'm saying the elite aspect of the calling the game, making the pitchers better, really causing them to grow. You've
I
got
that
guys. I mean,
that is
look back
something.
last year with Peyton, right? Peyton grew phenomenally from the year before. He had a great year last year compared to the year before. And what happened the year before? It was a lot of, well, Cooper's going to be the backup catcher. Oh, Cooper's going to be the third string catcher. Oh, let's bring this guy in. Oh, that guy didn't work out. Let's bring this guy in. And then finally, last year you settled down with Cooper's going to catch and to Peyton, and look at what happened. I mean, that is the Cooper Edwards effect, man. It is.
No, and
It
I I would say if we're strictly talking affiliate ball, he would be better in the rookie ball level or single A level, because that's where a lot of your players that one he would be more familiar with, because that's more of the talent you kind of work with to a certain extent. But you're really developing people at that point, and he can help with that. And that's why I think we argue that I would rather take him go 0 for 5 and the team win by 5 runs and no one steals a base,
right.
and they're throwing, the team's giving up 1 or 2 runs. I'll
Right.
take that any day of the week.
Yep.
So it's just one
That,
of those
that,
situations.
that is your formula to be in a championship team.
And I think I think my aspect, I think my doubts with Cooper was, I think that the the rosters in the past couple years, there was so many holes. I'm not saying there's not holes in this roster. There's holes in every roster. I'm just saying the production came from a select few people, and the roles that you really needed people to produce in, that wasn't happening. And the catching position was one of those. But then it opens up to, all right, you keep battling this, people stealing bases, people doing this, people doing that, and then as soon as you put Cooper in there, yeah, he's not gonna hit 500 home run or 50 home runs in a year. He's not gonna hit 10 home runs in a year, but he's going to eliminate maybe 100 runs in a year,
Right.
and that can make a difference between a game, winning or losing a game. And last year really proved that no matter who you threw back there, Cooper always ended up being the guy.
And I want to correct you on something. Cooper is on pace to hit 33 home runs this year.
You're okay. You're right. He's on pace for hitting 33. Yes, you're right. He has not hit more than 3 home runs in the past 3 years, but yes, this year he is going to hit.
I'm pretty sure that he leads the team. He's tied for leading the team in home runs.
Yeah, between Jake Gunther, Nick Podcool, and
Right.
yeah. So you're right. I'm sorry, Chuck. Sorry I misspoke.
Yeah.
That
Come on.
he's not going to hit 10. He's obviously going to hit 33. That's what I meant.
But here's the. I mean, listen, Coop. You go back to 2024. You can't say every lineup has holes in it. They don't necessarily have holes in it. You shouldn't accept them having holes in it, right? You have a weakness, right? Because for every strength there's a weakness, okay? But it's not necessarily a hole. I would say that, what was the comment I made 2024, 2025, where we have a whole team full of 7, 8, 9 hitters. We had maybe a 5 hitter, right? But we had no 1, 2, 3, and we had, it was a team of 7, 8, 9 hitters. And then all of a sudden you realize, okay, we've got Elvis Peralta and we've got a Jarius Richards. These are guys that are top of the lineup. Still didn't have anybody with power. We're still talking. I mean, seriously, our team record for home runs is 20 by Sam Abbott, who was a left-handed hitter who hit home runs over the right field fence, right? So we last year did not have power hitters, right? We never have. So yes, when you have a Coop in there and you've got a bunch of other 7, 8, 9 hitters, yeah, that's rough. But when you start having guys that are the top 4, top 5, top 6, and then you've got a couple of 7 guys that you can't decide whether they're going to be 7 or 8, right? And then you have a Coop in there, that's fine. That's fine. Because guess what? We saw today, yesterday. What did the Dockhounds do with their number 9 hitter? Who was probably going to be a guy who was going to be, well, let's just see what he can do. He's probably going to be a hole. And he winds up being a stud in the number 9 spot. So, hey, you know what? Put Coop in number 9, and maybe you'll get him to be a stud. Sure enough, what happens? 2 hits today, one of them being a home run, stolen base. Come on. And did he get a walk today too? Did he get a walk yesterday? I mean,
he didn't play yesterday.
oh, okay.
He played in the first game.
Yeah.
He did get an RBI. He walked in the first game with bases loaded, so he did get an RBI.
Yeah. So a walk too. So you're not. Let's not discount Coop. I'm gonna be the first one to put my hand up. I have quite often discounted Coop. You can go back to podcast. I have discounted Coop.
And that's why I will admit that I'm just saying he is a guy. I'm gonna be done looking at what his batting average and how many hits and how many RBIs and what he does on the offensive side of things, because he does so much defensively that it outweighs the defense outweighs the offense. So that's I just want me and you both wanted to come out about that.
I'm not discounting him anymore. That's the guy that needs to be behind the plate.
So Chuck, I know it's only week 1, 3 games week 1, but who's your player of the week?
Oh boy. Peralta.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Peralta. I think that some of the mistakes that he made the first 2 games were more of a getting used to being on the turf again, the ball going a lot faster. Can't necessarily, but he was still stopping it. You see Basabe plays that he normally would have made, couldn't make them yesterday or the day before. Ball's getting by him. And that's unusual, but I think it had a lot to do with the turf. I think that Peralta made adjustments, and hey, he was hit. I don't know. What do you get?
I'm going JC Flowers.
Okay.
Just because, he was the first pitcher to go in there, shut down the lineup. He had one inning where he struck him out in order. What I saw from him, I had to give it to him. So
this team, if we look at what we've seen so far with pitching, it was just in the last couple of days of the off season that we picked up Coates and Lane.
Yeah,
it would have been a lot different if we didn't have those guys.
Yeah, even you look at the relief pitching aspect of it. The people that give it that
Matt Reed's did great.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying, like, okay, you look at Jake Cooper giving up all those runs. He's never pitched professionally. I'm gonna take that back. He has pitched professionally, but not as a pitcher. This was his first go around of like, hey, I'm actually pitching.
Right.
Yohan Valdez took the year off.
Yep.
You look at Dawson Lane, you look at Matt Reitz, you look at Jacob Coates, what they did in their situations that they had. Bullpen, the pitchers that have been pitching consistently have looked good.
Yeah, we got things to work with. We got tools. Just got to
use
do what we can to make them be successful.
All right. So that'll end the RailCats talk. So if anyone wants to tune out,
no,
what?
No, there's more.
Well, okay, I guess I was more or less going into like your okay, fine. Never mind. I guess Chuck has more that he just
I have
never
more.
tells
I have
me.
more. So here's the thing. I went to Chicago, and um I had probably the worst baseball experience that I've
Okay,
had.
all right, hold on, Chuck. That's not RailCats talk.
Hold on,
No,
it
no,
is.
No.
It
What?
is.
Okay, let me
I want to
rephrase.
explain why.
Let me
I
rephrase.
want to
Let
explain.
me rephrase it. Let me rephrase
Okay,
it.
go ahead.
We're done with the RailCats baseball games. Like talking
Okay,
about the baseball games. So
yes,
if anyone doesn't care to listen about our banter about everything else,
that's fine.
thank you for
Do it.
making it this
All right.
far. All right,
Yeah.
Chuck,
All right.
now go with your
So
experiences at Chicago.
so it was probably the worst experience that I've had at a baseball game so far. And here's why. First of all, traffic getting up there 2.5 hours, but it took 45 minutes from me getting at my exit to go 0.1 mile from my exit to the parking lot because they had no cops directing traffic. They had sold out the parking garage. They had nobody directing traffic at the stoplight. And so for me to go zero point 0.1 mile, it took 45 minutes.
Welcome to
Now,
Chicago.
in Chicago, okay, that's fine. It has nothing to do with the Railcats. But I can discount that. It's Chicago, right? Poor planning, whatever. I get there and they have extended the net all the way down to the bullpen. And let me tell you how much it sucked trying to watch the game. It was awful.
Chuck, I understand that. I understand it. It's difficult to watch the game because of the netting. But I know I've said it in years past. I've said when MLB first did it, I was fully against. I think I was like, that's a terrible decision. What it creates is people not paying attention to the game because you have a net. So people don't necessarily have to pay attention, but
Yeah,
you don't
but
have people paying attention to the game. I'm saying as far as MLB, when I go to the Railcats games, luckily I have not seen. I don't know how I haven't seen it, but we have that berm in right field, and on days that there's a bunch of kids, how one kid has just not absolutely been drilled has surprised me.
I've seen a kid
I'm
get
not you. I have seen a kid get drilled in the face because he thought he could catch a ground ball and obviously couldn't.
I've
I've
seen
seen
that.
that. It's even in the retrospect. I put it in now perspective. When I bring Logan with me, I cannot sit where we normally like to sit.
Right.
But if they do the fencing, I can now sit where I normally can sit and not have to worry about 100-mile-an-hour line drive drilling my baby in the face.
Right. But here's the thing. You have the opportunity to sit somewhere else and still enjoy other aspects of the game.
I agree.
What the Chicago Dogs have done is they've taken away a bunch of the other aspects of the game that make it fun for kids to come to. Okay. First thing, foul balls. You don't get them. That ball has to go up and over the net. And for those people in right field or left field, they can't get foul balls anymore. Now, I understand the cost of a ball is $8, $9, something like that. I get that. But one of the things that kids really enjoy doing is getting a foul ball. And you've taken that away. Now, the interaction with the players. The players come over, shake your hand, play catch with you when they're warming up. All of those things that make kids just smile ear to ear get taken away. Now you're not getting that fan interaction anymore. You're not getting the first baseman got the ball, toss it to the kid. The first base coach comes out and gets the ball and hands it to a kid. You don't get any of that anymore. And that is a majority of what these kids walk away, get home, and that's what they remember. And you've taken every bit of that away for no reason. for no reason at all.
I wouldn't say no reason, Chuck.
No, for no reason at all, because you have the option to sit somewhere else. If you feel as though I need to be protected, you have that option to sit somewhere else. Now, I can understand in Chicago where they've got, hey, they were sold out. Okay. But in Gary, you're not sold out. So you can sit 3, 4, or 5 rows back to be protected from that net. You don't have to be in that runaround area in the greens. You don't have to be there. And if you're a parent and you're like, I want to protect my kids, then don't have your kids go over there and do those things.
I agree at the level that we are at. I think it should be one of those situations where the net is almost retractable to a certain extent. Let's just say Union Night rolls around and it's sold out, right? I am perfectly okay with them putting fencing all the way around because the stadium's going to be packed, especially on the left field side. But on a random Wednesday in the middle of the week, it's not going to be as packed.
It just
I understand.
I'm sitting in the front row. Okay, Pat has second row seats. I'm sitting in front of Pat, and as I'm sitting there, the net is smacking the front of my hat because the wind's blowing. Right? I mean, this is what I'm dealing with sitting there in the front row, and it just I'm telling you, it absolutely sucked all of the joy away from me. Knowing that, hey, okay, at least I get, nope, don't even get the interaction with the players. Okay, maybe if I get, nope, don't even get the interaction of the kids next to me getting a ball or anything like that. And I'm like, wow, you've just taken something that was really good and you've found a way to screw it up. And from what I was told, the word is that's happening to all the stadiums. And that's where that's where it ties in with the RailCats, is that somebody had said to me, well, when they said that they were putting it up, they said this is what's going on at all the stadiums, including Gary. I'll tell you what, if it goes up in Gary, you're going to probably lose 50% of those fans. Sorry.
You could, but it could also bring 50% of the fans back because they don't have to worry about getting hit by a baseball.
No.
I from the perspective of what you're talking about, I understand it. It's going to take a lot of that aspect away. I get the perspective. I understand it. It is going to suck because you go to these games and like now having Logan, like he gets old enough to make those interactions and you're looking at that getting taken away from them. Again, it also could be a way Chicago is just telling people they're putting a net up.
Could be. Could be.
It could be one of those, and we just don't know. Maybe it is. I just don't. I see places. I mean, okay, let's just take it in perspective. I haven't been. I mean, I know King County's like it, but I haven't been to Lake Country. I don't think their stands really go that far past.
So if you look at the other teams that have big fan bases, okay, Lake Country does not have a big fan base. And I believe the reason why is because their stadium is absolutely awful in the design.
Well, that's
the one that's got the courseway, the seats. You're sitting, 10 feet behind the wall of the field, and then you're on, essentially bleachers coming back, right?
I guess, Chuck, what I was getting at is a lot of the stadiums, their seats don't go really that far past.
Right.
So I think it should be up to discretion of the teams. I was just saying.
Well, it is up to their discretion, obviously, but I just think that it's,
I'm just saying,
you have to put a lot of thought into it versus, well, yeah, we don't want to have somebody get hurt, so let's put the fence up. Well,
I'm just saying, it's one of those. Do I mandate you have to put a fencing there, and it's Fargo, and the fence doesn't go that far back, and they have bleacher seats that go. I don't think it's that beneficial to mandate that aspect of it, unless maybe Chicago's maybe they have issues with people getting hit because the stadium is relatively busy most nights of
Right.
those games. I think it should just be, listen, you go to a baseball game, you expect a foul ball, and if your kid gets hurt, that's on you. You're not
Yeah.
paying attention to the game.
Yeah. Or you are paying attention to the game and you think that this 12-year-old kid can catch a a ground ball from a professional baseball bat, that the
Still,
kid puts his glove out and it bounces right over his glove and he's still smiling with the blood coming out of his mouth, thinking that he can catch it. And you're
still
like,
the
hey, dude.
funniest, because I think that was like the first year I was going to almost every game. And I, where I know my seats were normally at, they were
Right,
kind of, and I
right.
was right behind him. And I
Yeah.
remember he had the All-Star jersey on. He's like, I'm gonna catch me a ground ball. I'm gonna catch, and he
Yep.
was just talking all this like I'm just so much better than everyone else. And that ball just skipped and doof,
And
and
I
I
and
went,
I said, hey, uh, be careful. These balls come pretty quick. Yeah. Oh, I got my glove. Yeah. And the dad was like, oh, he's got his glove. He's fine. Okay. I mean, you've been warned. And then what happens? Right over the glove, hits the kid in the mouth. And what did the dad do? Do you remember?
yeah. He's like, give me the ball.
He's like, can I have the ball?
Yeah.
And while he's walking his son up the steps, blood coming out of his son's mouth. He's like, but he got hurt. Can I have the ball? It
That
was
was
great. It was great. I saw the kid. It was a chunkier kid that was, and he was probably, I don't know. I'm gonna say 12, maybe 10, out on the berm, and the ball line drive drills this kid right in the kidney, and the kid, he gets hit. He turns around and looks, and then he falls down. Like it was more of a stun of what just happened. Oh, I'm in pain. And then he went down, and then I was like, I wonder what happened to that kid that got hit. And I look and he's two rows behind me over like 4 seats. And I'm like, oh, there he is. He's okay now. He's not playing in the berm anymore. You know? I mean,
as if anything, if the Railcats were to put a fencing up, I would be okay. Well, one of two reasons. Put it by the berm. The main reason is so kids can quit throwing objects onto the field.
yes.
That I would see that one being okay. Just
And I
like,
don't even think you have to go all the way up. I think you just have to go up a little bit in that one L right there.
yeah, right there. I think
You
that
know?
would eliminate most, because I mean, realistically, when you go to a baseball game, most of the foul balls that end up like that are in those hot zones that are a little bit past third base, not so much like right there. I mean, it's very rare.
And and I am coming from a place of, I believe 2 years ago I got hit 3 or 4 times with a ball. Okay. So I have been hit with the baseballs. The seat between me and the seat that Natasha sits in, last year, first game of the year, overthrow from the shortstop, moved out of the way and shattered the seat. Right. The ball coming off the net and hit my dad's wife in the ear.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's coming from somebody that's been seeing the stuff that happens, and I would still say no, don't put the net up.
Well, Chuck, you also got to think where you're sitting, you're in a more likely spot to get hit with the baseball than anywhere else in the ballpark. Because
Absolutely.
90% of the plays that happen go to first base and
Yep.
they come from the infield
Yep.
to the foul line. So I that's when I used when I used to sit, the balls, I mean, where I was sitting, the balls would just go right or left. I would very rarely ever get a foul ball like right to me. But then sitting next to you guys, it's like I'm back in military training and trying to avoid mortars or something, because I'm just like, yo, what the, you actually have to pay attention.
Right. And that's why I bring my glove. There's been times where I've I've had my drink in my hand and I've had my glove. I reach over, grab a drink, ball's coming right at me on a bounce, and I just throw my glove up and catch it, put the drink down and throw the ball back. I mean, that's but that's part of the thing I love about the game, and I really hope that never gets taken away.
All right, Chuck, we're almost hitting the hour and a half mark.
We are.
So, do you have anything before the final out?
So Diaz pitched his brains out today, 8 innings, one unearned run, I believe 5 hits. They beat Sioux City. Um, he looked great out there. Uh, the Sioux City announcer said something along the lines of, got this guy from Gary. Uh, don't know what they got in return, but Chicago
Nothing.
got something good here, and don't know how Gary's going to make up not having him.
I agree.
Was one of the gist that I got from that. Uh, I when pitching is so vital in places like Lake Country, where every hit's going to be a home run, places like Gary, where the field is so big that you know you can't really afford to have a bunch of decent hits to the outfield, these ropers or whatever. Uh, I I don't know why we get rid of a good guy like Diaz.
Well, I mean, you
A
even go
loss.
to you're even going to Chicago, and Chicago is a batter friendly ballpark,
Yeah.
and for him to shut down a team, yeah, it's the aspect that you gave him away for nothing, but what you were supposed to receive in return is in the middle of recovering from an injury that you may not
Oh,
get.
no. The guy that you were going to get in return went to Cleburne.
Oh, okay, even worse.
Went to Cleburne. So we got nothing for him. Now, I believe that Diaz might have only had like 3 strikeouts, but how did he get all his outs? All his outs were ground balls to shortstop and second base and a couple flyouts to the outfield.
Listen,
That was it.
a pitcher is not determined by what their strikeouts are.
No.
They are determined. Well, it's determined by consistency. And
Yep.
if you can consistently get out and you can consistently keep people at bay, you're going to be. I can't remember who I was listening to someone talk. There was a pitcher in the MLB. He's the fastest he threw was like maybe 90 miles an hour. But he was so consistent in what he was able to do. He had a longevity career in the MLB and was like an all-star once or twice. So pitching has nothing to do with strikeouts. Pitching has everything to do with consistency. And if you're consistently getting people out, it don't matter if you get 1 or 2 strikeouts. Did you get the you can have a perfect game and throw 2 strikeouts.
He was the player of the game today. It was yeah, the announcer said, you know, I was surprised they brought him out in the 6th. And then I was surprised they brought him out in the 7th. And then I was surprised they brought him out in the 8th. And I didn't want to say anything about the 9th because I was tired of being surprised. And they brought in somebody else in the 9th. So he's like, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they brought him out in the 9th. Let him get the complete game. But he only threw, I think it was like 85 pitches.
Well, I you look at what JC Flowers did today. He pitched not a full 6 innings and he was at 98
Yeah.
pitches.
And
And me personally, I would rather take a pitcher that's going to give you 70, 80 pitches a game, go 7 to 9 innings, and strike out one person, because not only does it keeps the players engaged into the game.
yeah.
Because if you got a guy that's going up there 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, all striking him out, and then all of a sudden he starts getting tired and they start hitting the balls left and right, and players aren't making plays because they're not into the game.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. Well, Chuck, it's time for the final out. Brought to you by
All
OnDeck
right.
Tees. Support the player, wear the gear. Chuck, what is your final out for this week?
Gonna be tough 3 at Milwaukee. but then we're home. We get our fireworks on Friday. It's going to be great. Peyton Long on the hill on Friday, facing Cleburne, which hopefully is 0-7 at the time.
That would be great.
Because I'll tell you what, Fargo is not letting up on these guys. And so let them come in. Let Pete Incaviglia, little Inky, who doesn't come out and stand in line for the national anthem, the guy who only time you see him on the field is all of a sudden when there's an umpire that says something and he wants to go out there and yell at the umpire. Pete Incaviglia, let him be 0-7. Let him come into Gary and get swept. Let's make it happen. That right there, I could end my season and be a happy man.
Nice. My final out has to do with AATV app.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I love the hold on, let me say I love the app. I love the ability to watch the games. What I don't like is I was watching the game and I had the game audio a little bit lower and my wife was like, "Hey, why don't you just turn it up so you can listen to it?" I said, "Wait a minute." It goes to commercial and it feels like my ears are bleeding because the commercial is so much louder than the game audio. Please,
Okay.
please,
Not the same complaint that I have. But okay.
Please, for the love of God, fix it.
Yes.
It's not that difficult. Fix it.
Yes.
That's all I gotta say.
So here's mine. I try to cast it to the TV, and every time I try to cast it to the TV, it sits there and sits there and sits there and won't. It connects, but it won't play the game. And then I have to close out of the app and reopen the app and connect it back up and get it to play. And then it might play. And then I'm watching it. And then all of a sudden it stops. And I have to go through the whole thing again. Every once in a while, I'll get lucky and I can go into the app and I can change it and tell it to watch this game now. And it'll pull it up on the screen. But 95% of the time, if I go to switch it to another game, it just stops. I can't view it at all. I can change it to be on my phone. All of a sudden it pops up. I change it to the TV and it just sits there.
Chuck,
And
I got a couple quick solutions for you. Okay, one, the laptop you're on, log on to it on the AA baseball TV. Go to the website, get yourself an HDMI cable, and run it to the TV. Second option is get a Roku. Okay, because I have a Roku and that's what I watch it on, and it's on the TV. So just get yourself a Roku and download the app on the Roku, and then there you go.
Okay.
Or just watch it on your phone. There's your third option.
So and here's the other thing that really bothers me because it messes with my head. I'll be watching the away team or the away cast, right? And the home team is showing commercials that are local, while the away team is doing their dub over of whatever it is that they're selling. And so I'm like, why are we watching a Miller Lite commercial? But I'm hearing about roofing repairs, and I'm like so confused. And then I'm like, oh, that's because I'm listening to the other team.
Well, with the RailCats Broadcasting Network, you don't have to worry about that issue because they have their own commercial feed that overlays the homes, so you don't have to worry about that.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I mean, mostly the commercial is the Franklin Pest Control, which I'm thinking I have to call Franklin Pest Control out because we have a pest, but I don't think that's any kind of marketing scheme whatsoever. But yes, they have their own over that. So,
oh, well, when I'm watching Chicago, it was awful, and Sioux City doing their commercials while I'm watching the commercial and I was like, why isn't this syncing up? And then I put some thought to it. I'm like, oh, it's the other team. That's why.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, what are they saying during that commercial of the old people? Then I switch over to Chicago and I'm like, oh, it's not as interesting as I thought it was going to be. But hey, I'm glad we're able to watch the games. I'm very grateful.
And for free if you choose not to pay. So that's always positive. Unlike the home team network that everyone else is going to and have to pay $79 a year for and whatnot. Anyways, we're getting off track. I know it's been long for everyone. So looking at the upcoming games, we got 3 games in Milwaukee. Monday is a 6:30 game. Tuesday and Wednesday are a 10:30 game, school day game. I will unfortunately not be watching those because I will be at work. Thursday's a day off. And then we have the home opener against the Cleburne Railroaders. 6:45 fireworks night on that Friday, 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then it looks like fireworks on Sunday night, and the game starts at 6 o'clock. So I might actually be able to go to that game now.
That would be exciting.
Would be exciting.
Are you already going to Friday?
Oh, Friday for sure. So here's Chuck. I think I explained this last week, but I don't mind telling the story again. I took Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off because RailCats are at home. I like to enjoy the first series at home. Well, if I wouldn't be damned that my wife's cousin graduation party is on Saturday. My nephew's birthday party is on Sunday. So I have to be in Geneva on Saturday, and I have to be in South Bend on Sunday.
Geneva, Illinois?
Yeah.
What I would do in that case is I would call Ryan. And I would be like, sorry, Ryan, I'm going to need you to step in on this one. And what would Ryan do? What would Ryan do in your situation?
Ryan would tell everyone to f off.
Oh, you didn't show off the shirt.
I did. No? Right here. I'm not going to no game. I'm going to RailCats game. Leave me alone.
That's right. That's what Ryan would do. Ryan would say, screw you guys. I don't even need this. I don't even care about the cousin. Congratulations on graduating, doing what 80% of the population does at your age. So not a big deal. I mean, come on. It's like me celebrating the first time you use the bathroom. Not going to happen. Everybody does it. So, come on. You know what I would have done? I would have said, okay, how much in gas is it going to cost me to go up there? Let me just put that stamp on, write them out a check if they know what a check is. Okay. Send them on their way, add in the gas money and the toll money, right? And do that, and then go watch you a baseball game.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So, enjoy this week of RailCats baseball. Hopefully, the record is more beneficial and we have a lot more wins to talk about. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening. When you're watching this, go Cats.
Okay.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Wrap this one up in green and white.